Many people's view of the American Revolution is oversimplified to the point where they completely miss the root causes. If you ask most people to describe the reason behind our nation's fight for independence, it quickly devolves into ANCAP tax ranting and painfully unfunny Anglophobia jokes. This video will dissect each misconception and uncover the truth behind them. Throughout your high school textbooks, Legends and Lies by Bill O'Reilly is your Bible now. Misconception 1. The taxes were justified because of the colony's refusal to pay back the British for the French Indian War. The French Indian War is a factor of the Revolution often overlooked. In fact, it was a major turning point in how the colonies viewed themselves. The colonies banded together alongside the British to fight the French. This is the origin of the icon depicting a snake divided into 13 pieces. Separated, they are weak, and no one sees them as a threat. United, they are a force to be reckoned with. The victory expanded Britain's territory in North America greatly. This included Canada, but also a large amount of land to the west of the colonies, what is now the Midwest. The Midwest was rich with resources. The Great Lakes would support a successful fishing industry, lumber could also be harvested, and the abundance of animals meant it would be great for trapping. Furs were a hot commodity and would provide a great amount of wealth for the colonies and the British Empire. In fact, the wealth and industries of the Midwest was the main reason the French Indian War had broken out. Both empires wanted the wealth the land could provide. However, after winning this cornucopia of a region, the British did something that would have far-reaching consequences. Wanting to create a buffer zone between the colonies and the natives, the king ordered that no British citizen could go west of the Appalachian Mountains. This separated the colonists from the vast wealth and resources they had won. The order caused massive outrage in the colonies. So when Britain demanded the colonies pay compensation for the war, the colonies refused. Why should they pay if they don't get their reward? This caused various taxes to be placed on the colonies in order to pay the empire's debt. Both sides saw their choices as justified, which spurred conflict on even further. Misconception 2. No taxation without representation. This slogan is seen as the driving force of the revolution, however it has been oversimplified to the point where the original meaning is lost. So what does this slogan mean? At surface level, it seems quite simple. The colonists are being taxed, however they have no representation in Parliament. They have no say in how they are governed and should not be forced to pay these taxes until they have a voice. This explanation seems well and good until you remember this fact. It would be impossible for the colonists to have representation in Parliament. There were no airplanes or motorized ships. If you wanted to travel the Atlantic, it would take anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months to do so. Even if the colonists could get a seat in Parliament and there would still be issues with adequately representing all 13 colonies, it would take, at best, a month and a half for that representative to arrive in London. In order to justify that travel length and in order to carry out his job, the representative would spend most of his time in London rather than the colonies. This would alienate him from the people he's supposed to be representing. If he tried to travel to and fro, he would likely be spending over half the year in a ship, which would alienate him from the colonies and make him ineffective as a representative. There was no way in the colonists' eyes for Britain to fairly rule the colonies. Thomas Paine illustrated his point in his 47-page pamphlet, Common Sense, which broke down the points of the revolution in a way the general colonist population could understand. Taxes were not a source of the revolution, but rather a symptom of the root cause. Misconception 3. We hated the British. Alright Redditors, I can already hear you in the comments typing out a joke that definitely hasn't been overused, but hear me out. All of the founding fathers were of British descent and most were fierce loyalists. In fact, George Washington was a British soldier. George Washington, Ben Franklin, John and Samuel Adams, and many other founding fathers were all supporters of the British government. Their opinion of the crown only started to turn after the fallout of the French Indian War, where they disagreed with the king's policy decisions, mainly the Stamp Act. Even after dissidence became widespread in the colonies, it was not as though the colonists completely separated from the British. Just because you disagree with or dislike a country's government doesn't mean you automatically dislike the citizens of that country. In fact, the citizens of America and Great Britain continued to be closely tied through trade and culture after the Revolution. Sentiment from the time can be seen in the song Mother Country, written by Benjamin Franklin. The song uses metaphor and equates the British Empire to an overprotective mother and the United States her son. The son has grown up, but the mother still treats him like a young child. She punishes him when he points this out. The song concludes that he must make a stand but should still hold respect and a familial bond towards his mother. Tensions were still high 40 years after the Revolution, but the two governments have reconciled, and the United States and Great Britain maintain a close alliance to this day. The American Revolution is a complex topic with many factors, and when schools attempt to cram it into a single unit, many important details are lost in simplification. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let me know in the comments below. Have a great 4th of July.